Hey guys, how are you doing? My name is Katharyne Shelton, and today I thought I would make a video for you all about keywords. Specifically, how to use keywords for your Amazon CreateSpace and Kindle books. So a lot of people talk about keywords. They're important, and the reason they are important is because keywords are what allows people to find your book. With a brick and mortar store, you don't need keywords. People are going to walk into the store, they're going to see books on the shelf, they're going to find what they want. With something like Amazon, there's only a very small amount of books that are actually on display or showcased on the site. Most of them are buried in the catalogue, and to find them, people have to type in certain keywords to find those books. For example, I'm going to type in cherry blossom Japanese writing book. And hopefully one of these will be the book that I made. This is one of my books here. And what you can see is that it's keywords that brought my search to that particular book. I typed in cherry blossom Japanese writing book. Those are all keywords. So the first thing to know about keywords is basically you need them just to reflect what customers are typing in. And here's the thing, there are many possible searches that could lead people to your book. I tend to think of it like Jeopardy. Like, you know the game Jeopardy? You start with the answer and then you have to guess what the question is. That's pretty much what coming up with keywords is like. You have the answer to many different questions. You just have to figure out what the questions are from your audience. And those questions are really in the form of the keywords they type in. So, let's talk about how Amazon actually finds your book. Well, they find your book based on keywords in several different places, and those places are the title, the subtitle, the ISBN number of your book, the author name, and the back-end keywords that you actually include on CreateSpace. These would be the back-end keywords that show up in the search keywords. On KDP, you actually get 7 keywords. On CreateSpace, you just get the 5. So what I would like to do is show you a couple of things about Amazon's keywords and how you can prove that your book will show up for people who are typing in a certain keyword. And the way you do that is actually really, really easy. What you need to do is scroll down here to where you have the ISBN number. And you're going to take the ISBN 10 number, and I'm just going to copy that and I'm going to paste this. You can have this set to all departments, you can have it set to books, it doesn't matter. And I'm going to paste this number in here, and you can see when I type in the ISBN number, my book shows up here, and just my book. Awesome! Now I'm going to show you something else. When I put in the ISBN number and I put in the word cherry, that book also shows up. When I put in the ISBN number and I put cupcakes, oh look, it says we found 0 results for the ISBN number plus cupcakes. And then it just does another search and finds the ISBN number. So what this means is that Amazon is indexing the word cherry. And it is indexing the word cherry for your book because it's in the title. And we can go into this a little bit more in detail. So for example, let's take a look at the description. And I want to prove to you that the description is not indexing. And we can do that by, let's use the word taking. See, it says it's perfect for taking notes. So let's put in the word taking. And if it's indexing for description, I would expect it, no. So you can see it's not indexing the word taking. Let's try another example with writing. And again, it does show up. So what we are seeing here is that it doesn't matter what order these words are in. I know there's a lot of people say, well, you've got to put the words in a particular order. It doesn't matter which order you put the words in. It doesn't matter if you repeat them or not. You don't need to, because you can see how it's indexing. It's indexing by different words that are in the title, subtitle, the author name, and the back-end keywords. It's not indexing description. Now, should you have a description? Yes, you should. And there's 2 reasons two good reasons for having a description. The first is that it's persuasive copy. If you have a good description, you can persuade people to buy your book. You make the book more appealing to your customer. The second reason is Google. It's not just Amazon that is indexing your books, it's also Google. And people may find your book by typing Cherry Blossom book into Google. And by having a description, that actually gives Google more information to work with on your book. And the great thing is that Amazon has what's considered a very high weight or ranking with Google. So if you have something on Amazon, Google will tend to push Amazon results up to the top of their search results. So it's a good idea to include a description just because it also makes Google happy. Now, bear in mind you can also do this with your competitors' books. If you suspect they're using a particular keyword, for example, your brand, you can actually check whether they're doing that. So for example, I can check for the word composition, which I know is not in the title of this and it's not in the brand name, but I did put it in the back-end keywords and you can see it does show up for that as well. So this is a very, very powerful way of just making sure that your keywords are being indexed. And as far as I can see, with CreateSpace, they index everything in the title, they index everything in your back-end keywords, they don't index the description. So basically the takeaway from this is to make sure that you have great words, title, keywords, and you don't need to repeat anything. And it doesn't matter whereabouts you actually put those in the title or subtitle, they will be found by Amazon if someone searches for those words. Now, let's take a moment to talk about title and subtitle, because there are a few things to take into account when you are setting these up. So in this particular book, I have a very long title and subtitle. If we go behind the scenes, you can actually see this. So the title is Large Japanese Writing Practice Book, blah, 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 blah. Basically, everything up to this colon is my title. Now, everything after the colon, Cherry Blossom Design for Kanji, Kana, Katakana, all of that is the subtitle. And what Amazon does is it actually merges the title and the subtitle all together in the listing, just separating it by a colon. Now, the good thing is we know that all of these words count equally. When you're searching, what happens, all of these words will count equally in the search. If you search for Japanese kanji calligraphy, it's as likely to come up as if you search for writing katakana blossom. And what determines the book's position in the search results is mostly the sales of the book, the ranking of the book, and the reviews of the book. So these keywords don't make any difference. As far as I can tell, I would love it if you can challenge this or you can find more evidence on this, but as far as I can tell, the positioning of these words doesn't make any difference. So the subtitle, from a keyword perspective, is as important as the title. Now, there are a couple of other perspectives here. One is the way your book looks, both physically and in your listing. And one thing that CreateSpace specify, both CreateSpace and KDP specify, that you should have the full title of your book on the cover of the book. Now, you could say, Katharyne, how can this be? You don't have this crazy long title anywhere on the book. It's just a picture. And what I've actually done is I have the title on my spine. So you can't see it here, but I actually set it up in Cover Creator. So the title, Large Japanese Writing Paper, each half an inch, that appears on the spine of my book. And as long as your book is over 130 pages, you can easily put the title on your spine. And if you're using Cover Creator, you can do that automatically using either the palm, the pine, or the spruce templates in Cover Creator. Now, if your book is shorter than that, or you don't want to put the title on the spine, there is another method for doing this. And let me show you. This book is not my book. This is one of the best-selling sketchbooks on Amazon. In fact, like not just on CreateSpace, but on Amazon. And what they have done is kind of interesting. So the first thing I would say is there's actually 2 colons here. So just from looking at this, we can't really tell what the title is and what the subtitle is. Literally, the title could be anything up to sketching, or it could just be sketchbook. Now, I believe that it is in fact sketchbook, And the reason they've done this is so they can just put sketchbook on the cover of their title. So let me say that again. The exact title of your book needs to show up somewhere on the cover. So whatever you have put in this space, just in the title space here, that has to appear on your cover. The subtitle doesn't. Yay, good news. So what I tend to do, I'm not usually as minimal as this. I don't usually just put sketchbook. I will usually put a short, reasonable title, and then I will load up my subtitle with more keywords. So for example, please excuse the picture I'm working on, but let's say I made this little sketchbook about bubble tea. It says boba is life. So I could follow the sketchbook example and go to my setup, and I could literally do title, sketchbook, subtitle, and then this is where I can put all my keywords. Boba is life, pocket size, drawing, and sketching pad. And suddenly you have all these keywords in here. You have boba, pocket size, drawing, sketching, but none of that has to actually appear on your cover itself. Only the word sketchbook does, because that's the title. Now, the problem I have with this is that CreateSpace reports are not very helpful. They literally just list the beginning title, and if all your titles are the same, like sketchbook or journal, it's going to be a pain looking through those. So I tend to do something a bit more in the middle with this, and I'll just do like boba is life sketchbook, and then I'll put more words into my subtitle. So I could put for teens and elementary school, whatever I want to put in there as keywords. So that's the way I personally like to use it. If you want to put sketchbook in there and you don't mind the reports, that's fine. You can totally go ahead and do that as well. If you're happy putting the title on the spine of your book, then you can do what I did with this one and have the really long title and just let it be there on the spine. A lot of people don't like doing this. Personally, I think people don't really look at the spine. They don't really care what the spine says on a notebook, but it's totally up to you and your aesthetic which way you do this. There's just different things to keep in mind here. You've got the SEO thing to keep in mind, which is that all of these keywords are the same. Doesn't matter whether you put them in the title, subtitle, or you put them down here in the back-end keywords. They're all going to be used to search for your book. And that's totally fine. You may also just want to do the sketchbook thing and just say sketchbook, so that's all you have to do on your book. And if your book is under 130 pages, it doesn't have room on the spine to put the name, then fine, do that. And then all you've got to do is put sketchbook on your book. Or of course you could do like journal. You could just literally give your book the title journal. Now, another thing to bear in mind, and I haven't done the research on this, is how significantly Google ranks the title of your book. Now, I believe or strongly suspect that Google actually reads both the title and subtitle as all one thing. And the reason I say this is because I looked at the code for the listing here. I looked at the HTML code that Amazon gives us for this listing. And from a front-end perspective, you can't actually tell the difference between the title and the subtitle. And I think Google can't tell the difference between the title and subtitle. So that's something to bear in mind, but I think it's going to be absolutely fine to just mix and match the title and subtitle however you like to do it. Just remember that restriction that the exact title needs to be somewhere on the cover of your book, either on the front cover or on the spine. One last thing I should mention about titles and subtitles is that KDP is a lot more sensitive than CreateSpace. CreateSpace generally doesn't mind if you put quite a lot of keywords in your title. If KDP detect keyword spamming, and often they'll look at words like gift or birthday as being keywords, they might reject your book. So I have heard of people getting rejections from KDP for using too many keywords, but that doesn't appear to be a problem on CreateSpace. I haven't heard of it happening there, and I use a lot of keywords on my CreateSpace books. So let's move on from here, and the next question is, what are people searching for? How do we actually figure out what people are searching for on Amazon and the people who are actually likely to buy your book? So one thing I want to say is there's a lot of attention paid to software. A lot of people are saying, well, you need to use this particular software tool, or I swear by this particular software tool. bear in mind that many of the people who are pushing certain software tools are on commission. That's the first thing I want to say. I actually don't pay for any keyword tools at all. I do it all with free tools. The other thing is I want to say that often software can be misleading in a couple of different ways. The first is that Amazon do not make any sales figures or any search volumes available. Any software that claims that they can show you search volumes from Amazon or sales figures from Amazon is kind of fibbing. You can work out approximate sales by looking at ranks on books, but it's very, very approximate and it varies from season to season. Search volume, there is no way of knowing this. Amazon do not make that available anywhere, and you can't even scrape the site to find it. It is just not available. So any tools that say they are using search volume are most likely using Google search volumes or search volumes from a similar search engine and then adapting them to Amazon. They're sort of doing, well, I assume that there's 5 times as many people searching on Amazon as Google, so I'm just going to times the Google search volume by 5. And that's what a lot of software tools are actually doing. So I'm kind of skeptical of a lot of software tools. The ones that I do use, I will show you now because I think they're really cool. Now, the other reason I say that software tools can sometimes be misleading is that even if you use Google search volume, it can get a little bit confusing. Let me give you an example. So I'm using the tool Keywords Everywhere, and I love Keywords Everywhere. I've actually spoken to the developer of this. I don't take any affiliate cut. I get nothing from recommending this. I just think it's awesome, and especially that he's put this out here for free. And Keywords Everywhere pulls search volumes from Google. Now, up until last year, you could actually get search volumes directly from Google. They're now restricting that feature to just their major big advertisers. So most people now can only see an approximate search volume. I like Keywords Everywhere because I've checked the search volume against what I can from Google, and it seems that they're pretty accurate. So I do use Keywords Everywhere. Now, if we take a look at this, you can see that Greyhound gets 2 million searches, which is pretty awesome. If I was going to make notebooks about greyhounds, I would be very interested in this. I would say, wow, 2 million people search for greyhound. So if I was creating notebooks about dogs and each one had a dog on the cover, that's something I would certainly pay attention to. However, when you break this down a little bit and you look at how many searches there are for greyhound dog, there's 60,000 searches. If you look at how many searches there are for greyhound bus, there's actually 4 times that amount. So 4 times more people are searching for greyhound bus than they are for greyhound dog. And you can see that's particularly the case in the US. So this is something to really pay attention to. When you are looking at search volumes, they may have nothing to do with the topic that you're thinking about. And even if people are searching for greyhound dog, there's a good chance that they're looking for like a training guide, they're looking for dog biscuits, like they could be looking for anything. Now, of course, even if they are searching for greyhound dog, they may not necessarily be in the market to buy a notebook, and probably 99% of them are not. However, what you are doing, if you have a book about greyhounds, you put greyhound dog, training journal, training manual, training log, what you might do is catch people who are looking for like treats for their greyhound or a book about their new greyhound, if they have a new greyhound puppy. And what happens is you might get them to do an impulse buy if they actually see your book and it pops up. So do use these keywords. Just be aware that sometimes search volume doesn't tell the whole story. What people are searching for may not reflect. Like if someone types in diamond ring, there's a really good chance that they're not looking to buy a diamond ring. They're just looking up sort of like Rihanna lyrics or something like that. So just be aware that search volume doesn't tell the whole story. And probably your brain and your manual keywords that you come up with might be much more valuable than anything software generates for you. So let's talk about how you can actually come up with some keyword ideas. Well, the first thing I would say is that you've got to put yourself in the mind of the buyer. And I think a lot of people rely on software tools. They're not thinking like a buyer. And when I was putting together this book, for example, it's a Japanese writing practice book. First of all, I Googled Japanese handwriting. I knew about the term Kanji. I Googled Kanji. I browsed around to look and see what other books there are on CreateSpace. So the first thing is put yourself in the mind of the buyer. I think that's the most important thing you can do when you're looking for keywords, is really understand what your buyer is looking for, the kind of language they use, the kind of slang, jargon, specialist subjects they use. And the first thing to do is just to do a little bit of research on your subject. So you could Google it. And for example, with this book, I had to do some research because it's about kanji paper. It's Japanese kanji paper. Now, I don't really know much about Japanese writing or the alphabet. I did know the term kanji, but when I did some Googling, I found a whole bunch of other words that people are using. Hiragana, katakana, all these words. I'm sure I'm butchering them. But and genkuyushi as well. All of these words I had to find just by doing a bit of research on the subject. And you can Google around. I cheated a little bit because I used Tangent. And Tangent comes up with a bunch of word suggestions for kanji. And also, if you click on the Explorer, you can actually do all the research very quickly at a glance here using the Tangent Explorer. So, for example, you could look up Google Images Kanji Practice Notebook and see what people are doing. You can just switch across to Google to see the kind of words people are using. You can, of course, also go to products and look at what CreateSpace books there are, what are the most popular words that are coming up in CreateSpace books. Like, you can really explore and just get a feel for what people are using and understand the niche a little bit better. Now, a lot of people say, well, look at the best sellers in your category. Go and study all the best sellers and take all those keywords. While I can understand that advice, because obviously the logic goes, if they're a bestseller, then they're using the right keywords. They know what people are searching for. The problem with that is that there's high competition. And if you use all the same words, what you're going to find is that there's a lot of competition and your book will get buried way down at the bottom of this. So you're actually better off looking for more niche words that other people have missed or that aren't coming, they haven't thought of. Like, for example, I did Cherry Blossom Notebook. We'll do that. Cherry Blossom Notebook Japanese. And you'll see that. Now, another thing a lot of people say to do is to just look at bestsellers in your category or about your topic and see what books are coming up or what are being suggested. Now, that's a reasonable idea, and there's a lot of logic to this because obviously if the books are bestsellers, then they're being found. They're using good keywords that people are actually searching for. The downside of this is that many of those keywords are going to be really, really saturated. For example, if we put in hiragana is a popular word. If we put in hiragana, you're going to see there's still 700 results for that word. So that's a lot of words to compete against. That's a lot of keywords to compete against. So it's actually a really good idea to see if you can find some niche words that are overlooked that not that many people are looking for. And there's a lot of ways of coming up with finding words that are being totally overlooked but that are popular. And the first way I would suggest is to use your brain to actually just think of words yourself. And the way you can do this, I know that sounds super hard. I was like, oh my God, I've got to think. The best way to start just generating word ideas that might be something that no one else who's selling on Amazon has thought of is to ask yourself the basic 5 questions. What is my book about? So answer it in plain English, like just tell your friend. And what you can do here, this is really cool, you can ask a friend these questions. So you can say, what's my book about? Take a look at this book. Can you tell me what it's about? And people, when they talk in plain English, they might reflect more what people are typing into the search bar. So they might say, well, it's a book about learning to write Japanese. I guess kids at school might use it. And so we have these words like learning and school And actually, when I did some research, I found that high school, like learning Japanese for high school, is actually a really good keyword, that you're putting high school in there. So when you start asking these questions, what is my book about? Why would you buy this book? Like, what purpose would you buy this book for? So it might be to practice my writing at school. For my class, oh, suddenly you have another word there, like class, Japanese writing class. So we've got what, why would you buy this book? Where are you going to use this? I'm going to use it at school. I'm going to put it in my pocket and put it on and take it on the train. So then maybe you want a pocket-sized version or a travel version. Then you're going to finally ask yourself, who is going to use this? And also, how? Actually, so that's 6 questions. You've got, what's this book about? Where are you going to use it? Why are you going to use it? Why are you going to buy it? When are you going to use it? So it might be after school, for homework, in bed, in the evening, in the morning, writing at the kitchen table. And who is going to use it? So what, where, why, when, who, how. 6 questions you can ask either yourself or your friends, your family, to really start generating some new ideas from that. The other way that you can get completely new ideas, you can get different keywords without having to mine Amazon, without looking through all the bestsellers and writing down what all the words they're using, you can actually just go to dictionary.com. I like thesaurus.com because they do synonyms. And what I did is I put handwriting in here, and you can see this gives you some new words as well, like calligraphy. Someone who's not familiar with the words kanji yet, they just want to buy a book to support their granddaughter who's learning Japanese. They might put in Japanese calligraphy because that's the best word they can think of. Pencraft, that's a good one. So I would probably take pencraft and maybe put penmanship. So look for synonyms. Thesaurus.com will give you some synonyms. So those are a couple of great ways to think of words that are a little bit outside the box, that don't have much competition. Now, the most well-known way of looking for keywords is probably on Amazon itself, and it's called Autosuggest. And what you do is you type in Japanese writing, and boom, it starts giving you all the most popular searches. Now, bear in mind that these aren't necessarily the most popular searches. We've never actually had it from Amazon that these are the most common or saleable searches. What we know is that these are terms that Amazon wants you to see. These are terms that Amazon want to showcase. And the chances are that these lead to sales. These will lead to books, which lead to sales. So Amazon does want you to see these, but they're not the be-all and end-all. They're a great place to get some suggestions and to write some of these words down. So you can do Japanese writing book. I like them because it gives me some ideas. A magic word I really like to use in the auto-suggest on Amazon is for. If you do Japanese for, this gives you a bunch of ideas. Busy people, beginners, dummies. Like you could do, I'm guessing that's a brand actually, the busy people, like for dummies. But for young people is a good one. You could also do like girls, Japanese. Okay, that just gives us Japanese kimono. So there's a lot of ways you can actually use auto-suggest to just get ideas. If you're stuck for a niche, like this is a great thing you can do. You can just do notebook for, notebook with, notebook about. And this will give you a lot of ideas as well. Just typing things into Amazon and seeing what auto-suggest gives you. Now, that's kind of slow. That's kind of a boring approach to finding keywords. There are actually 2 tools that use auto-suggest and speed up the process. And those are Soovlay and Ubersuggest. And I'm going to show you them both. So Soovlay is really, really straightforward. What you do with this, you just type in Japanese and it goes to Amazon, Wikipedia, Google, YouTube, Bing, and Answers. And it gives you all of these words. It basically does auto-suggest very, very quickly from a whole bunch of different sites. So we can do Japanese notebook, and this actually gives you a lot of ideas for what people are looking for, what's popular. If you noticed, I do have these little extra notes at the end, say 1,000 searches a month. I also have the same thing happening on Amazon when I type things in. And these notes here, the 1900 a month, those are actually Google search figures that are coming in because I have the keywords everywhere extension enabled. So if you're wondering about that, that's where those are coming from. So there's Souvlé. So that's another good place to just get ideas. So I mean, if, for example, you put together a dot grid journal and you're trying to come up with ideas for what to do with your dot grid journal, you can actually look at bullet journal, for example, or Bujo. And this will give you ideas. I mean, you can see like, okay, people are looking for Bujo ideas. So if you would put together a dot grid book, you might want to call it like the dot grid book of ideas or the bullet journal book of ideas. Probably I'd avoid using bullet journal or Bujo because those are trademarks. But by just browsing these, it will give you ideas. Just write them down or keep a notebook file open on your computer where you can write down these ideas. Now, the other tool I really, really like is Ubersuggest. Now, Ubersuggest were bought out recently by Neil Patel, and actually they have improved the site quite a lot. It's now at neilpatel.com/Ubersuggest. And Ubersuggest is nice because we can put in something like kanji, which we're looking for these Japanese words. We can put in the word kanji, and it gives you a whole bunch of different keyword suggestions. And these come from Google Suggest and Google Keyword Planner. And you can actually browse for shopping, image, YouTube news. I also suggest doing a shopping search. That can be really powerful because you can see what people are actually looking for on shopping sites with an intention to buy. In fact, let's do that. Let's switch to kanji shopping. Look up. It takes a moment to find them. Okay, and it's refreshed them. They look pretty similar actually. So this is cool because it gives you a whole bunch of different suggested words relating to kanji. And if you don't want to browse through them all, you can actually order by search volume to find the most popular. So that's kind of funny. People are looking for kanji tattoos. Japanese, learn Japanese. See, that's a great word. And I haven't seen many people put learn in their keywords for these Japanese books. A lot of people are putting sort of writing practice, putting all the words, but learn is a great word. Because I think a lot of people search for that on Amazon. I want to learn Japanese, books for learning Japanese. Japanese language. Language is another good word. Japanese letters. So you can see here, this gives you a really good feel for what words are being searched. And this is the Google search volume down the side. Remember, you can't get Amazon search volume, but you can get Google search volume. And that's what Ubersuggest gives you. So those two tools that I really like that are basically based on Autosuggest, Souvlé and Ubersuggest there, which is on Neil Patel's website. Very, very powerful. Like, I can't believe they made this free. I hope it stays free for a while because it's a really, really good site. So that's Ubersuggest. So let's sum it all up. We talked about keywords. We talked about why are keywords important. And keywords are important because they are the match from your customer to your book. What you want to do is match anything that customers are typing into the keyword box. The next thing I said about keywords is not to get too hung up on it. There is not a right or a wrong keyword to use. A lot of people say, oh no, I must be using the wrong keywords. The only wrong keywords are keywords your customers aren't searching for. So the best possible way to come up with keywords is to put yourself in the mind of your customer. So the more you can research your target audience, your market, your customer, the better. Understand the kind of language they use, understand the jargon, the words, the phrase that your specific customer uses. Like, it doesn't matter what software tells you or what gets the most Google search volumes. What you want to know is what the people who are actually likely to buy your book, the people who have the money to buy your book, the inclination to buy your book, you want to know what those people are searching for. And bear in mind, they might not be searching for notebooks. They might just be looking for like cherry blossom gift for mom. They might be looking for school book for Japanese student. Like, there's a lot of different things they could be looking for. You want to make sure that your book pops up in front of the people who are most likely to buy it, and that it somewhat matches what they're searching for. So that's the most important thing, putting yourself in the mind of your buyer. And you can get research from anywhere. You can look at Facebook groups that your potential buyers are in, understand how they talk to each other, how they the slang that they use. Like, I mean, for example, with bullet journal, people always talk about spreads, and you wouldn't know about spreads. Spreads are the designs that people are making for bullet journals, and people even sell and swap spreads, and they're just design layouts. But that word spread is particular to the bullet journal community, and if you understand the words they're using, that's the most powerful thing you can put into your books, in either the back-end keywords or in the title. The other thing I should say is don't spam. And the problem with spamming, it may help you get more searches, but also it can just get lost in like the millions and millions of listings. So there is a bit of a balance of picking the right words, the right combination of words without spamming. And bear in mind, this is something else I should have said, that all of these words are indexed individually. So if people type any combination of those words, if they type in kanji writing or Japanese cherry blossom book or composition large book, Japanese, any of those searches may lead to your book. So bear in mind, it doesn't really matter what order those words are in, because they're going to be searched together as a combination, and Amazon's just going to pull things that have a combination of those words. Now, the other thing is, you may say, well, how do I make sure my book is at the top? Well, where your book shows up in the visibility, you're going to be competing with all the other books that are using those same search words. Your book will move up towards the top depending on its bestseller rank, which is dependent on sales. Reviews will also help it get more visibility towards the top of the results. But if you don't have reviews and sales yet, the best thing you can do is make sure that your book matches uniquely for unique searches that people are looking up. So you don't necessarily just go for all the popular searches, you try and catch those niche searches that other sellers just aren't matching for. We also talked about Keywords Everywhere. I love Keywords Everywhere. It is an extension, it's a free extension that you can get from keywordseverywhere.com. Another thing that Keywords Everywhere does that is really, really cool is that if you go to Google and you look up, actually let's do bullet journal, what you will see is that Keywords Everywhere actually now has this people also search for, and it puts this on Google for you, which can give you just a ton of ideas. Like you can see here what people are looking for: bullet journal cheat sheet, bullet journal ideas, bullet journal supplies. This is very similar to the results from Ubersuggest, but I love that they just pop up on Google. You can also do, let's do kanji, because we were talking about kanji. We can look up kanji and you can see the words that people are also searching for here. This is super powerful. See, check it out. You have people also search for hiragana, traditional Chinese. So that gives us another idea. Like maybe we could also do a Chinese book. Kanji stroke order, that's something people are looking for, and so on. So this is really cool. If you have Keywords Everywhere enabled, it will also show up on Google for you. We also talked about synonyms. We talked about using the dictionary tool, thesaurus.com, to find synonyms. We talked about the questions, the basic questions you can ask: what, where, why, where, when, who, and how. Ask yourself those questions and ask your friends. And we also talked about tangent and tangent words. And I love tangent words. It's a tool that Isaac put together for me that allows me to go and just explore any topic. And I love it because everything is clickable. If I look up, actually, let's just do kanji. If we look at kanji, this lets us go and quickly browse. We can find whether there are t-shirts, like merch t-shirts that have kanji on them. You can see there's 266 t-shirts featuring kanjis. You can go and browse CreateSpace, see how many books there are for kanji on CreateSpace. So 330 books on CreateSpace that mention kanji. You can browse for trends, you can browse for ideas, and you can even go and find some artwork for your book cover. So we could actually just do Japan and look at pixels and see if any pretty pictures come up. Wow, there we go. Okay, so there's a few that would be really good for your notebook. Pexels pictures are high quality and free. They are royalty-free pictures. So that's really cool. Yeah, that's using a tangent to explore different ideas, niches, and do your research to find both artwork and to find out more information about how many products there are out there with your keywords, and also more information about your keywords. Okay, so my big advice is don't stress too much on keywords. There isn't a right or a wrong. If someone finds your book and they buy your book, then you're doing it right. If you've put the keywords out there that someone actually finds your book and buys it, great. If people aren't buying your book, you may want to try different keywords. You may also just want to promote your book outside of CreateSpace. Like if you're not getting sales, it's not necessarily because you're not using the right keywords. It may just be that you need more promotion to bring people to your book, and that there's a lot of competition on your book. So competition is a big issue. Like, you're trying to dodge competition, you're trying to find words that other sellers aren't using, but that your buyers are. And that's really the game here with keywords. The words that buyers are using, but other sellers aren't. All right, I hope this gave you some cool ways to find keywords for your book. I don't think there's any one ideal perfect way to get the perfect keywords. It is kind of an art, but hopefully this gives you a great starting point to find great keywords that work for your book. If you've enjoyed this video, please come and join us in our CreateSpace group on Facebook, and also check out Tangent Templates, which will help you create blank books very, very quickly in minutes. Just add a cover. And also, don't forget to subscribe to my channel, because we'll be putting out many more videos about CreateSpace. All right, guys, have a good one. I love you. Bye.